Welcome to this next episode of the Beloved Miracles Couples Project. Today I'm reaching from Norway to Rockport, Indiana, USA. Hello, Angela and Marc.
Hi.
Angela Maddox started from humble beginnings in a small town of Kentucky. Through life's challenges, she struggled and overcame her rocky past to become one of the most sought-after women in network marketing. Angela single-handedly built a thriving and prosperous business for a product line she not only believes in, but it has contributed to her gained success. Wife and mother of four, Angela quickly rose to the top with her husband Marc by her side, traveling the US to help pave the way for others. Her boisterous personality and effervescent demeanor are what captures those around her. But it truly is her story and mission which today drives her. Marc Maddox started from humble beginnings in a small town of Kentucky. At a very early age, Marc realized his technical and mechanical mind would be the force that would drive him due to struggling with school and reading, not knowing at the time that an undiagnosed case of dyslexia was the underlying cause. Marc worked in the motorcycle and automotive business his entire life until he retired at the age of 41 to work alongside his wife, the love of his life, in the network marketing profession. Angela and Marc, where does your story begin?
Oh gosh, our story
starts in that humble town of Kentucky that you were speaking of,
Yes,
which happened to be the same exact town. We were born and raised in the same town in Western Kentucky, and we've known each other since we were children. And
funny story. I told my mom when I was 10 years old that I was going to marry Marc Maddox, and she said, "Just come on, get in the house." And I said, "No, I'm serious. I'm going to marry him one of these days." And she was like, "Whatever." Well, here we are.
It wasn't easy. It didn't turn out that way initially.
No, it didn't. We are like a product of hard work and falling on our faces and learning that it's okay to love someone else and learning that it's okay to lean on someone else. And Marc and I are both only children. And that was a struggle for us, just for the simple fact of we are both only children. And
which makes it, they say that makes us selfish, and I don't know if that's true or not.
I don't know.
Maybe it is.
I don't know. But I had a very difficult childhood. I had a wonderful childhood. I had great parents who loved me, spoiled rotten, of course, grandparents who were absolutely phenomenal. But I always knew that there wasn't something quite right with me. But back then, things like mental issues, if you mentioned that you might have something wrong up here, then you pictured being taken off in a straitjacket, put away somewhere. That's how it was back then. It wasn't okay to admit that something wasn't quite right. So I struggled all through my childhood with feeling off. That's a good word, I think, is off. Doing things that in my mind would be like, why would I do that? I know better than that. You know what I mean? And I've, nothing like I didn't hurt anyone or anything like that. But
or self-destruction.
Yeah, just like I was a self-sabotager. I mean, I had a very, very bright future. I started dancing, toe ballet, gymnastics, and jazz when I was 4, and did that all the way till I was 17. I graduated high school, and then went to college. In college, I found drugs. I self-medicated myself. Finally, for the first time in forever, I kind of felt normal when I was messed up. I tried marijuana. It wasn't for me. I like to be more energetic than what marijuana allowed me to be. So I quickly found speed. Methamphetamine was my drug of choice. And it led on to heroin and meth and heroin together, and cocaine and just anything that I could do or use that would numb the pain that I was feeling from the loss of my grandfather. Shortly after I graduated, and then went off to college, and then some other things that had happened in my childhood. And Marc and I kind of hooked up when I was like 16. And I knew, like I said, from when I was 10 years old, the first time I ever laid eyes on him, that I loved him, that the way that he looked at me was the way that I wanted somebody to look at me for the rest of my life.
Now, what happened there is she went off to school. She developed this lifestyle, and of course, we went our separate directions, and that ultimately led us to other people. It led her to her first marriage, and it ultimately, I attempted secondary school. You know, after graduating high school, I went to college, took the college classes, and I learned very quickly that it just was a waste of money for me because there's just no way. I really didn't have the skill set to be able to manage college. It's a wonder I made it through high school. I guess I was cute. I don't know. Maybe that's what got me through high school. But anyway, I just immediately started working. Like you said in the intro there, I went into the motorcycle industry, dabbled with some other things prior to that. Actually worked in the coal mines for about a year and learned some things along the way, and went into the motorcycle industry and really enjoyed that. Did that for 7 or 8 years. And then I ultimately married someone else, and during that time frame, I lost my mother to cancer, and basically, it not only destroyed me emotionally, but it destroyed my marriage. It destroyed, you know, I was at the lowest point in my life, and her marriage was a tumultuous marriage. Without getting into too much detail, it wasn't a It wasn't a good.
Mm-mm.
It wasn't a good thing.
No, I was a victim of domestic abuse for 2 years until I finally got brave enough to sneak out in the middle of the night and with my young son and try to make a better life for us. So let's see. We'll flash.
That's kind of what led us together. It's ironic that we both divorced, and our divorces were, mind you, we haven't spoken to each other for years up to this point.
Yes,
well, off and on.
We would meet. I'm not proud of it, but Mark and I have always been a driving force to each other. So when things were uncomfortable in our real lives, it never failed that there was always some driving force that ended us paths crossing or whatever. So we had talked, and we had actually met up a couple times and talked.
We're talking about like a 2-year period, once or twice meeting, but we hadn't spoke to each other for probably 6, 8, 10 months.
Yeah.
And we ended up in the same restaurant bar on the same night, celebrating the fact that our divorces were final.
That day. They were final on the exact same day. And we've been together every day since then.
Right. Yeah. We
Literally.
left each other's side since then. What was that?
Over 20 years ago.
Yeah, I guess it was. It's
over 20 years ago.
So that's kind of the snippet of our young adult lives.
Yes.
And
so then Mark and I got married, of course, after putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. We finally only 16 years ago got married. So we, like I said in the beginning, we were trying to decide if it was okay for us to love someone again, because our first marriage is, you know, him losing his mom and the abuse that I went through. I was having a really, really hard time letting those walls that I had built down. And he was the same way. I mean, his heart was literally crushed. And so he built walls up to keep from ever having to experience that pain again. And so us both trying to break through those walls to get to each other's hearts was tough. And Mark and I decided one day over dinner that we would get married. And we got married, and I was one of those people where with my drug use, now mind you, I was one of those people who, as long as everything in my life was going okay, I could like not even think about wanting to get high. But as soon as like one thing, one stressor, one one blip or hiccup in my norm, which I've learned now are called triggers, I would immediately turn to meth. So I was one of those people that could use for months and then just decide one day that I was done and not do it again. But then as soon as that would happen again, and
it was a cycle that just kept repeating.
And so that was another one of those moments where I was like off, didn't quite understand why this is happening. So one day about 11 years ago, Mark came home from work, called me outside, and he had told me, he just gave me an ultimatum. He said, you know, you got to pick right now. you want me and your kids, our kids, or do you want this other life that you're living? Because something's got to give. You're not doing this to me anymore. We're not doing this. I'm not doing this. So he said, real quick, you have no time to think about it. You have to make your decision right this second. I, of course, chose him and my kids. I pretty much detoxed myself upstairs, locked myself in our bedroom, had friends that were over to help with the kids. And Mark, of course, did a fabulous job. So I detoxed myself, got myself together. We finally got our life. I mean, my drug abuse and drug use, we lost cars, we lost houses. I cheated on him. I mean, I almost literally destroyed my life. I was at a place in my life where every single day that I got high, I literally prayed, please God, let me do enough today that I will die. Every single day. I would do a little bit more and a little bit more, to the point that the people that I was actually getting high with would be like, there is no way that a person of your size should be able to do this much and not die. What the heck is going on? You know what I mean? And I'm like, I don't know. I wish I could die. Literally every day was just miserable. Could not find hope, could not find love, could not find happiness in anything or nothing. And later on, once he gave me this ultimatum, I got myself in therapy, and I realized my first week in therapy what was wrong with me. I am bipolar. I have borderline personality disorder. All of these moments in my life where I was off was when I was in the middle of an episode. These moments when I would feel like, God, you were not raised this way. Why are you doing this? This is not who you are. That's because I had another being, another personality in me that would literally control me. She was so strong. I was the weak one. I let, because of all of being beat down daily, literally for all those years, and then some other things that I had gone through in my childhood, I was literally mentally beat down so low that I let some other personality control my life through the drug addiction, through the drug abuse, through the moments that, I mean, I would literally disappear, leave our house and disappear, leave my children with him or my grandmother, and disappear for 2 weeks at a time, and come home and have no idea where I had been.
Yeah, I mean, I go to work, everything is fine as far as, you know, perception wise, everything seemed to be fine. Come home and she'd just be gone. And I mean, and not have any idea where she was. And
no notes, no nothing.
Nothing. Have no idea where she was.
Like, Mark, how did you deal with that for 2 weeks? Well, I mean, you must have been calling the police by 2 weeks.
No, because I knew the circles that I knew what was going on. I knew that she was in the middle of an episode, and I knew she was self-medicating with the drugs. And I knew where this put her, because obviously to get illicit drugs, you've got to hang out with illicit people. So I knew she was in places that I didn't want her to be in, but if I'd have went, I mean, what was the cops going to do? You know,
that could have potentially,
nothing against them. It's just that would have just made things worse.
That could have potentially got me killed.
Yeah, I mean, you don't call out that type of person. I mean, I don't know how to even express that the right way without being too. I don't know.
Well, you know, people who are on drugs
just wasn't an option.
Aren't always in the right mindset. So
it just wasn't an option.
If him calling the cops saying, hey, my wife is missing, and putting out an APB for me would lead the cops to search in all these places where he would have to give them, that could potentially be harmful for our children, for him, for me. It was just a position that, and plus, if I got caught, he didn't want me to go to jail.
Right.
You know what I mean? I was sick, and he knew that, but he just didn't know how to fix me.
And I knew I ran in those circles enough to know my way around that circle. So it was on me to find out where she was, and I just had to start at just where I felt like was the right place to start, and then I'd find her, and then I would coax her into coming home. And basically saying that I'll change, I'll do better, because it was always my fault, you know. And I'm sure there was things that were my fault. I mean, we're human, and that's a fact. But it's not that any of this was 100% her fault. It wasn't. I was just as emotionally broke down as she was. I just wasn't self-medicating at the level that she was. So we coped with things slightly different. neither one of us was in a good place in our lives, really. But I knew I wanted her. I knew I wanted my kids, and us not being together was never a question. This was the life that I wanted, and I knew she was my soulmate. I knew she was, and I had to do whatever I had to do to make that a reality. So years go by of this repetitive lifestyle that we're living here, and it finally got to the point where I was broken down to the point where I could not. I was basically having a nervous breakdown. I basically had a nervous breakdown, and because what had happened is, leading up to that, I left this part out. I had never done methamphetamine in my life, and I found that if I put myself in her lifestyle, it was easier for me to be with her. It was easier for me to keep tabs of her, and it made it to where she didn't have to leave me. We just did this together. And instead of her leaving for a week to go do this with so-and-so and so-and-so, so-and-so and so-and-so would just come to our house and we'd do it together. So I became a methamphetamine user, and I don't have an addictive personality, so I'm not the type that has a problem quitting something. It's more of a mental issue for me than it is a physiological issue. I don't really have that physiological addiction to it, to where my mind can't control me to keep me from doing it. If I set my mind to it, I can do it. And most everybody can, but I was just in a place where I've always known that if I decided I'm going to quit, I'm going to quit. And flash back forward to what I was saying, I basically got to the point where I basically had a nervous breakdown. I remember I was at work, and I felt like I was going to have a heart attack. I literally felt like I was just going to, I don't know. I've never felt anything like that before. And it's a really hard thing to describe to somebody that's never been through a panic attack or an anxiety attack like that. But I went to my boss and I said, I think I'm losing my mind. And he said, well, you need to go to this local psychological facility and get some help. It just happened to be a few blocks away. And I was like, yeah, you're probably right. I need to. And I got in my car and I drove, and I was sitting there in that particular parking lot of that facility. And I debated with myself for 6 hours.
Wow.
Right.
I sat there and I had to decide whether I was going to do it, whether I was going in. You know, 1,010,000 things are flashing through my mind how to deal with this. And I don't know what happened exactly. And I just said, you know what? I'm stronger than this. I am stronger than this. I can do this. I can quit this, and I'm going to take charge of my life again. And I'm going to put my foot down, and I'm going to make the changes that I need to make to save my own life, because I can't help anybody else in this world if I can't help myself. And I made the decision right then that that's it. And, you know, I drove straight to a lawyer's office that was a few blocks away, and I said, I need divorce papers written up right now. And, of course, it doesn't work quite that quickly. But they got the ball rolling pretty quickly, and I got the divorce papers. And I meant it. And she got the divorce papers, and, of course,
I wouldn't sign them.
She wouldn't sign them.
No. I said, I don't want a divorce. And he said, sign these papers. And I said, no, I don't want a divorce. So about 3 or 4 weeks went by, and I was living somewhere else, and we were completely and totally separated at this point. I had left him in one of my leaving things, only I took the kids.
I had decided I was done chasing.
Yes.
So I was done chasing.
So I had my own place, and the kids were with me, and I called him and I said, why don't you come out for lunch? And so he came out, and we had a great lunch and a great talk, and we decided that we were going to try to work through some things. I told him, I said, I'm not ever going to sign those papers, because if I can't have you, nobody else is ever going to have you. We can do this for as long as you want, because there is no way that we're going to get a divorce unless you get my signature on those papers. And I promise you, I am not ever signing them. So yeah, I think he's pretty thankful now that I did not sign them. Yeah. But
it worked out.
You know, it did. But then flashback. I got the ultimatum a few years later, and we moved from Kentucky to Indiana.
Yeah, we realized that we would have to get away from that lifestyle. We had to get away from that lifestyle. We had to get away from that area. We had to get away from those people. So we basically disconnected from everybody that we knew.
Changed cell phone numbers, the whole 9 yards.
And we moved to another state.
Literally 12 minutes across the river literally changed my life.
Yeah,
because
it's like a different world.
Yes,
here.
I got
It really
in therapy. I realized that I had bipolar disorder and borderline personality disorder. I got on some medication, started feeling normal, you know, but that medication caused me to gain a bunch of weight. And so in the process of getting better, I was mentally getting worse because I hated who I saw in the mirror.
Well, she'd always weighed 100 pounds
Yeah.
in her life, and now all of a sudden she weighs
almost 200. So it was tough. But anyway, got a normal job, and we were working, and things were looking up. We rented us a little house, and we were able to buy a new car. And, you know, we were slowly rebuilding from all of the mass destruction that had gone on the majority of the first 5-6 years of our marriage. So flash forward, we are working in a little town about 40 minutes from here. And my grandmother gets diagnosed about this same time with Alzheimer's, fast progression Alzheimer's. And she's a step grandmother. She married my grandfather at very late in life. They were married for 20-some years. And she and my grandfather never had living children. My grandmother birthed 2 children. One was born stillborn, and then one died a couple days after being born. 6 months after the last child was born and died, I was born. So I filled that void for my grandmother. She and I were close. So I was forced to have to quit my job because, like
we
I said,
had to move her over here, just literally right across the street from us.
I had to take care of her. There was nobody else. She didn't have any children. All of my parent or my mom and her brothers and sisters, once my grandfather died, they were done with her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they never did.
They didn't have any type of relationship. So I saw her slowly become very weak and vulnerable and scared. And so it was our job. We as a family took care of her. My job paid like grocery money, and one night a month we got to go out to like dinner or a movie or something with the kids. His income paid all of our bills. Now I say that because he could not pay one bill one month and pay the other bill the next month.
We managed with his 2 incomes.
He managed.
There was no savings account.
Yes, none.
There wasn't money left to save.
I had to give up my job to take care of my grandmother, and that was our grocery money and our fun money, as my kids called it. And so really quick, I realized that we were not going to be able to eat at this rate. So I started looking on the internet for stuff to do and things to do, and I'd actually been turned on to a product right before I had to quit my job that was causing me to lose some weight. And long story short, I got online, I got the product, started taking it. I found network marketing, and that was something that I could do at home. I could do and take care of my grandmother. I mean, I had to like literally give her medicine 6 times a day. And I mean, she couldn't do anything for herself any longer. I literally was a 24-hour-a-day caregiver and quickly lost myself and found myself, if that makes any sense whatsoever, in network marketing. This profession has totally changed my life. It's made me strong. It's made me realize that I can do anything. I can empower women. I can inspire women. I can inspire and empower men. I mean, I quickly found my niche, found out exactly what I was supposed to do. Why all those times that I tried to die, I didn't die because of this moment in my life where I get to change people's lives. And Mark, you know, he stood by me through so much stuff, and I hurt him so bad for so many years. I always said in my mind, one of these days, I'm going to do something. I'm going to be able to make this up to him somehow, some way. And I did. 8 months after finding network marketing, I put us in a position to where he could retire from his job and come home and work with me. Yes. And so,
one of the beauty, just to back up a little bit and reflect on something, that one of the things about her success with this, and this was really by accident, and this was probably more for self-therapeutic value than anything. She shared her story that first time in front of a group of people, unprompted. She just basically from the heart, she just started sharing her life story, and just basically what she's just repeated to you about the tumultuous, the drug use and the
domestic abuse in my first marriage.
Everything that went along with that. And it just all came out.
Like puked out. And I had no idea that it was even going to come out, but it just did.
And I think most people most people would be embarrassed or ashamed and be afraid to share that with anybody. And when she did, it made her very, very real to people. And it showed people that it's okay to admit your failures and your mistakes in life. And it's actually beneficial to the next person for you to share that, because it empowers them to be able to share their story, because everybody's got a story. Everybody does. Everybody's got struggle, strife, and sorrow and happiness. I mean, it's all intertwined together. And the more we share, what we found with this is the more we share our story, the more people wanted to hear it. And not because they're interested in us, but because it opened up something within themselves that made them heal a little bit.
Yes. So
that's why she has become so successful, and she has a work ethic that's unreal. So I mean that's a given, but it's that ability to share the mistakes and the sorrow and the hurt and the pain, and tell people it's okay. It's okay that we all made mistakes. We've all messed up. Just admit it and move past it. And that's one of the reasons why she has been so successful.
One of the things that I found, that the more I shared my story, the more I was able to heal myself on the inside. I had always felt like, because I clearly was not raised to become that, to go down that path. I always felt like I let everybody down, including me, that I wanted to be the mom that my kids could be proud of. I wanted to be the wife that he deserved. And through network marketing, I mean, that's who I've become. My biggest accomplishment was being able to stand on this stage in Vegas in March and share my story after presenting to almost 6,000 women. And my Facebook has literally blown up with people who have been touched by the same thing or worse. I have empowered these ladies to share their stories, that they had been in this profession and squashed it down, and were living a life acting like their background was something that it wasn't, and they were successful in their companies. But I gave them the courage to say, you know what? Here's who I really am, and this is where I've came from, and this is who you all love, and this is me. And then I actually was told at that event that a lady's best friend actually checked herself into rehab after she shared my story, checked herself into rehab and said,
a lot of those.
Yeah, I'm going to get myself better. I'm going to build your business with you. We're going to do this. We're going to lock arms, and we're going to do this. And, I always say, I never, ever, ever brag the fact that we've made a few $1 million in this industry in a very short period of time, or that we've bought dream cars and dream places at the lake and boats and, paid off old debt and all this other stuff, and lived a life like we've never would have imagined. I don't ever.
Well, we imagined it. We just didn't ever think it was possible. I imagined it anyway.
And thankfully, I believe that it was possible. So we got to this point, but you totally made me lose my train of thought. Anyway,
this happens a lot.
So I was able to share that, and I always say that I'm never bragging. I'm never boasting. If I can share my story and one person in that room, I can give hope to, because I remember what it was like to live every single day hopeless and helpless. And that's the way I felt. That was the definition of Angela for so many years, was helpless and hopeless. I did not know how to help myself, and I had no hope of it ever being any better than it was right there at that moment, because I had the inability to look forward to the future. And now I can dream so big that it will literally make you want to throw up. And that, I'm serious. And that is one of the reasons why that us as a couple, me as a leader, us as a partner, as a group set, are as powerful as what we are, because we give hope. And I have been given the gift of being able to belief in people who do not believe in themselves. And that's all it takes. I was able to believe the belief in him that this marriage was worth fighting for. So we fought for it. I believed the belief in myself that I could be the wife that he would be proud of. I believe the belief in myself that our children have parents who they are proud of. The legacy that we're going to leave behind is going to succeed us for years and years and years. But most of all, I was able to believe the belief in those that have come into my life, that they too could live a life like they once only dreamed. And that, among everything else that has happened in my life, has been the greatest feeling of self-worth that I have ever experienced. It is the reason why I get up every single day. It is the reason why that I am super positive every single day. I am not a negative person. I don't allow negativity in my life.
And that is so frustrating, let me tell you, because I'm a realist, man, and that is so hard to deal with. The positive attitude 24/7. It's tough, but you know, that's what gets us. That's what gets us over that hurdle and on to the next one.
And here we are.
Mama's on a whole new high, Mark. Right?
Yes, yes, it is. Yes, it is. That's exactly right. And you know, over the course of the last 11 years, I have gotten myself into a place where, for the first 5 of those years, I thought about using every single day. Even though that I wasn't, I thought about it every single day. It was like one thing would happen and I would be like, you know what I mean? It would just be like, I would have to fight off that urge to think, I wonder if I could remember that person's number, or I wonder what they're doing, or whatever. But now, like the last 6 years that we've been in this profession, I am a completely different person. I am not haunted by my past. I've let all of that go. And I share this story, my story, our story, with pride. It's not anything to be ashamed of. We are who we are because I took those steps onto that different path that I was intended on through college and stuff, and it got us to where we are right now. And if I had to go back and do every single bit of it all over again to get right here again, I would.
Yeah, it'd be hard to, even if given the opportunity, it would be difficult to change anything, because ultimately all the mistakes, all the struggle, that's what made us the people we are today.
Yes.
And
yes, and it made us the couple that we are today. We literally spend 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We don't have other friends that we do things with. He is my best friend. I am his.
Yeah.
We when he leaves
that's
to go
all
to
we ever dreamt of. I mean, this is literally what we wanted out of life. We wanted to be each other's confidant. We wanted to be each other's best friend.
Yes.
And we wanted to do things together. Now, that doesn't mean we get along completely.
No.
That's, you know, that's asking a little too much, I think, because I get on her nerves. Her positive attitude gets a little bit on my nerves, but we make it work, and we get through it. And if we have a bad day, we just kind of I make
him say he's sorry, even if it's not his fault, and then it's better.
I'm sorry a lot. I'm sorry a lot. So it just works.
Oh, babe.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a simple rule in the house here: when Mama's happy, whole house happy. And I can hear, Mark, you know how to work that, even though it's frustrating sometimes. Yeah. Oh, guys, this I hardly even want to, you know, interrupt it, because the flow, the throwing up, as you emphasized at one point in time, Angela, is just It's just raw, and it's raw in a good way, like a real way. Like, I cannot wait to hear the feedback of how people experience what we've just recorded. I'm
excited.
It's brilliant. And the most I wish to add to it, other than my awe, which I am, I'm just in a state of awe right now of you guys and what you've overcome, is this emphasis, which I'm all about, which is together we overcome. I mean, I think I'll wrap it up with that, unless you guys have any final words, because we don't even need to say more. Your life speaks it. Your actions have spoken and are speaking it without needing to say together we overcome.
Right.
Only thing I would add is if there's couples watching this and you've got struggle in your life and it seems like it's more than you can handle, don't give up. If you love that person, it's worth whatever it takes to make it to the end. It's worth it. Don't ever give up.
And I just want to close with, always believe in yourself. Always believe that you've got a little bit more. You're here for a reason. You've got greatness in you. The only thing standing in your way is you. So you just have to realize that you're here. You've got a greatness about you and you deserve it. You're entitled to the life that you dream. So dream bigger every single day.
Wow. We'll leave it on that. You get the final word, Angela. From Norway to Rockport, Indiana, guys, I hope to touch in again sometime in the future, because I'm sure it's going to be an amazing story of where you're at now and what comes next.
We would love that.
Thank you and goodbye from Norway.
See ya.